Welcome to Jessie Bear Book Club. Today we are reviewing All About History magazine, issue number 126. And this is the first issue from 2023. As I think I've mentioned before, I have now got a subscription. Yes, I do, with a Christmas present. This one focuses on the Crusade, the last and first King of Haiti, Death of a Showman, which was really, really good. We got Frogman. I don't know why. I find the word Frogman ridiculous and very, very funny. We've also got Women of the Renaissance, The Mayor of Castor Street, and Gold Mummies. And I read this whole thing. We are starting off with the history of the ballet. And I actually quite like ballet, but I haven't seen that much of it live. So it starts off telling you about the history, how ballet started off as court dancing in France, and the shoes would have originally had high heels, and it was more about male leg work than female leg work because women weren't allowed to show their legs, and how that progressed up and into, you know, the famous Russian ballets. We also have the Matthew Bosher Black Swan premiere, which I didn't see the premiere, but I seen it when it came to Belfast. My mum's friend took me for my birthday, and it was really good. That bit where they're all stamping their legs wearing those like feathered trousers was just insanely good. So I enjoyed that. And then we have Palace Gardens, not too interesting, but this is what I did find interesting. The Sun King, Louis XIV, his outfit as the Sun King when he used to appear in court dances, which evolved into being plays, and it talks you through his whole outfit, which I really, really liked. And then we have this beautiful sculpture of a 14-year-old dancer in France at what century? 1880. And she was called a ballet rat, and they talk about who she was, what she did, where she ended up, and it's sad, but it's also very beautiful, and I really like that piece. A moment in time captured. And then we've got famous ballerinas. What do you call male ballerinas? Just ballet dancers? But it was good. Some of them were so pretty. Oh, where is she? This one, Margot Fontenier. Isn't she beautiful? She looks like Vivian Lee or something. I just adored it. And I talked a lot about the Russian ballet and the influence of Russian ballet and the difference between Russian ballet and French ballet. And I mean, it was interesting enough. And the art of politics and the Bolshoi ballet, which was interesting enough, especially how communism impacted how ballet was performed, and Russian ballet then influenced when like they opened up again. It was good. It was good. Famous ballet places to go, you know, museums and concert halls and stuff, and it was okay. I had a quite funny story about trying to go and see the Nutcracker with my friend when I was 14. It was her birthday, and her mum said she's going to take me, my friend, her little sister, and her friend to go and see the Nutcracker in Ronda. Ronda's about an hour away from where we live in Spain. So we all got in the car, drove up, and guess what? My mum's friend had got the dates wrong. Not only had she got the dates wrong, we hadn't got tickets, so there was no ballet. So we ended up having to go and see this really strange play about all the queens of Spain called Isabella, all performed by men in like full pantomime, you know, dame dressed upness, and it was just very, very odd and not something that per little, I don't want to say her name, well, my friend's little sister and her friend, who were only about 8 or 9, should have really seen. So weird. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I don't think I'd see it again. And then we have The Last Crusade in Europe, and this article was incredibly interesting because I immediately assumed it was going to be about the Crusades in Jerusalem and focus on the Knights Templar, but it didn't. It focused on the Teutonic Knights, and these were like a German, Eastern European based crusading group. You can see them there, which I had honestly never heard of before. Of course, I've heard about the Templars and I've heard about the Hospitallers, but the Teutonic Knights were not something I'd ever heard about, and I'm probably murdering the way that's pronounced. But it was so interesting, and how They fought in Lithuania and they divided up into two different sects. So there's the more German branch of the Teutonic Knights, and I think it was the Lithuanian branch. I read this last week, so I should really remember. And their wars around the Baltic Sea and what they got up to, and they actually continued on into like modern society. I mean, they were around, I think, in the Second World War, I believe. I need to find that little bit. But I was completely amazed. I mean, I thought all the crusading orders had died out, you know, many, many, many years ago. Like, I'm talking like the 1400s. So to know that they were about, and here, yes, Hitler disbanded the Teutonic Knights in 1939. Isn't that actually, I kind of highlighted that little point, because, you know, nobody, when you think of crusaders, you think of like Richard the Lionheart crusading, Eleanor of Aquitaine. I never would have thought that they survived until now. And I have another little bit highlighted here, which I read, that said the Earl of Derby, the future King Henry IV of England, joined the Teutonic Knights for a period of time and fought in the Lithuanian Crusade. Isn't that actually insane? And I had never heard of this order, and I love English history, so this was highly enlightening. I have another little bit. Yes, that was a bit that irritated me, and if anybody who wrote this article is watching, could you please tell me why you talk about the Teutonic Knights' triangular shields and then show me a square shield? Because I didn't like that. It annoyed me a lot. Don't know why, but it just did. But I really, really enjoyed this article. There's a movie about them, and then there was some talk about how they were linked in with like Nazism, especially after the Second World War, because they were a German-based order, but how that couldn't be further from the truth. Anyway, I simply found the whole article very, very interesting, and I would recommend it. Let's see who it was written by. It was written by Gregory Layton. So I will be seeing if I can find him on Twitter so I can ask him about that triangular shield. And then we got to The Slaying of Britain's Greatest Showman, and it was about this guy here, Lord George Sanger, who was incredibly famous during the Victorian era into the Edwardian era for his circus performances and how he came from a circus family. He performed in front of Queen Victoria and used to brag that he hung about with the Queen's son, the Prince of Wales. But he also had a horribly gruesome end where he was murdered by a former employee who literally hacked him to death with an axe. But there is now evidence to say that that was not the case, and that this person who later killed themselves was actually framed about the whole thing, and it's all very odd. I just don't get it. But he became one of the richest men in the world, well, in Britain at least. But this man, George Sanger, rose from pretty much obscurity and complete poverty and had an incredibly hard life. Literally bought himself a lordship. He was that rich. And the name Sanger and Sanger Circuses was synonymous throughout Britain with his performances. There's a really horrible bit about having to kill an elephant, which I didn't like at all, because an elephant escaped his chains and killed a man. But, you know, like, animals shouldn't be in circuses. When I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to go to circuses because my parents didn't believe in them, because they were super hippy-dippy. I wasn't allowed to go to zoos either. But I actually now, as an adult, completely agree with their stance. As a child, I kind of wanted to go to the circus because all my friends got to go, especially because we lived in the middle of nowhere in Spain. So when the circus came, it was like a really big deal. And I was like 7, and everyone in my class got to go, but I wasn't allowed to go because my parents didn't agree with animals being used in the circus. But now I get it. I mean, it's a thing that shouldn't happen. But at the time, as a child, I was annoyed. But the guy who wrote this article also written a book. I'm going to get his name up for you because I might buy the book on Audible. Okay, this was written by Callum McKelvey. That's not the man who's written the book. What is the name of the guy who's written the book? Carl Shaw. Carl Shaw. And the book is called The Killing of Lord George. And you can see it there. It's a little purple bit right there. Looks really good. And I think I might just get it on Audible. and listen to it. I think it's definitely going to be a factual book. It was interesting, the guy said in this article, there was an interview, that he had originally just planned to write a book about this man's life, but when he started focusing on his death, it became obvious that this book was a murder mystery, and I liked that. Now we get along to the first king of Haiti, Henry Christopher, the rebel leader of the revolution. And I have read articles about this man before, I'm not gonna lie. There was an article in a previous All About History magazine that covered him briefly. It was actually more about the Haiti rebellions, but he was in the article. So I read it, and it was more to do about how much money this man spent when he came to England, and he was a very prominent figure in England. But it's sad because he really did a lot for Haiti, and then after his death, you know, all his work was really undone because it was quite ungovernable because, you know, there'd been so many rebellions and stuff. And I highlighted a bit here. Yes, the Haiti plantation system died. Sugar plantations were left fallow after Henry Christopher's death, and it was sad. This man did some really, really great work, and unfortunately his succession ruined it. I mean, he was the first and last king of Haiti, and it was an interesting article. I mean, I believe if this man had lived longer, or if a good successor and a reasonable government had come to power, they would have continued to be a very wealthy, prosperous nation, because Haiti at the time was incredibly rich with sugar and other plantation goods like tobacco. Now we get on to Attack of the Frogman. Frogman. This article was hilarious. It had men riding on bombs underwater in frogmen suits, and I found that hilarious. The word frogmen I find hilarious. It conjures up images of, I don't know, that movie Flushed Away and Le Frog. Le Frog. It was a boring article about Second World War frogmen, which I could not take seriously because it had the word frogmen in it. Then we get on to famous women of the Renaissance, and honestly I thought I was going to know most of these women, and I didn't. And we have Cassandra Fidel. She was an Italian writer right at the beginning of the Renaissance, and she was so well known that she wasn't Queen of Castile at the time, but she later became Queen. Queen Isabella of Castile invited her to join her court. There's a lot of stuff about nuns and artists, and there was Cristina de Pisa. They had a little bit about her and her famous book, The City of Ladies, which is referenced in Alison Weir's Anne Boleyn, King's Obsession book. So I enjoyed that little reference. It tickled me. We also have Lavina Fontana. She started painting female nudes and was one of the first female painters to paint female nudes. I really enjoy life drawing. I used to teach it part-time at hen parties and stuff. There's always male figures. I've painted female nudes though, but it depends who you're painting and like what pose and stuff, because we used to have to do it in college all the time and it would get so boring. It's like 3 hours of painting someone in one position. I mean, it's dull, you know? Okay, moving along. We also have Harvey Milk, The Fabulous Life of Harvey Milk, the empowering story of San Francisco's first openly gay elected official, and I didn't read it. I'm sorry, it didn't interest me. I started reading it and I was like, this isn't for me. I mean, it's sad what happened to him, but it's not an article for me. I'm here for my deep history, but they did have queer political people, which I thought was really interesting, especially Anthony Bacon, Francis Bacon's brother, who in France was, they tried to convict him for sodomy. So that was fun. I enjoyed reading that, but I'm here for the real history facts. They also have the Siege of Charleston, you know, American Civil War, Charleston. And I don't read battle reports. We've talked about this. So moving along, we get to the what if section. And what if Joan of Arc had not broken the siege of Orleans? I love that little like headline bit where it's got the imagery. It's like she's in a newspaper. Isn't that so cool? I love that. This is one of the reasons I love this magazine, is I love all the weird like art they make. I was really talking about if Joan of Arc hadn't managed to break the siege of Orleans, would the French have rallied and put the Dauphin on the throne, or would the British colonization and takeover of France become more permanent? Would the language of France now be mainly English, or a more diluted version of French or Norman French? And it was interesting, and I was talking about at that time when Joan of Arc came into the French orbit of power, France was at such a low ebb that they needed a really, really massive push and important political event to get them out of this funk. They'd been debilitated by nearly 100 years of war. Not just that, they'd been debilitated by the Black Death. So, great article. I really, really enjoyed it. We then get on to gold mummies. I mean, they're gold mummies. The mummy's made of gold. If you've seen one of them, see them all. I mean, I'd rather, you know, watch a program about Tutankhamun than look at more gold mummies. We then have Lady Chatterley Lover, the reviews. So I enjoy the reviews in this magazine. They normally actually are quite good and tell me what to watch and what to look out for. Now, Lady Chatterley Lover is going to be on Netflix. This has been done so many times. I haven't watched the BBC version, but I do know this is coming out on Netflix. Should I watch it? Should I review it? Should I rant about it? That is the question. None of the other books here interested me. We move on to The Lost City of Z review. The magazine has given it a C. C is okay. I personally would have given it a B because it's got, you know, Sexy Jacks in it, you know, from that show about the bikers, which name is currently eluding me. I don't know. Sons of Anarchy. That's it. Sons of Anarchy. So I liked it. It's a good movie based on a true story. A little bit out there in some parts, but I did really like it. I think it was on the BBC during lockdown. That's when I watched it. I remember I wanted to watch it with my dad, but I couldn't get hold of it or something. But it was really good. I liked it. And as I said before, my dad was a massive like mystery explorer buff. So that mystery about the lost city and the last expedition that went looking for it going missing was something that fascinated him, just like the Mare Celeste fascinated him and stuff, and what happened to the crew of the Terror fascinated him. And then we have Gorido. I'm guessing that's how it's pronounced. Gorido. A Haitian dish based on pork. Now, it looks lovely, but I would not deep fry it at the end. I think I would leave it as a stew. But that is my review. I'm going to hold on to this recipe and make it at some point, I think. I do like spicy food, and it has lovely, lovely chilies. So that is my review of All About History magazine, issue number 126. Yes, that is 126, and I will review the next one, which is 127, very soon, I hope. I need to make time to read it. And that one has a large article about Catherine the Great / Catherine the Tyrant, as she's called on the cover of it. So look out for that. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I have a full playlist of All About History magazine reviews. I also review historical fiction books, and I have theories on A Song of Ice and Fire. I talk about Alison Weir. I just talk about stuff I read. So see you guys next time. Bye.